Hello, I am Windrunner Cosplay, and this year, for the 2023 Craftsmanship competition, I will be competing in the category of Journeyman. For this year's competition, I have created the Endwalker level 90 job artifact gear for the White Mage on a Miqo'te from Final Fantasy XIV. Some of the reference photos you see here are Square Enix's official photos, as well as my own Miqo'te in-game wearing some of the gear so I can get a better reference and close-up picture of some of the details. This project was a massive undertaking and took nearly 120 hours worth of work to complete. Nearly each piece of the costume was created by myself, including the shoes. The only thing I did not create was the wig that I bought from Amazon and then styled. Beginning from the top down, I used a Vieira ear pattern to create the Miqo'te ears, then modified it to fit the size and shape I needed. I created a skeleton using cardstock and wire that I hot glued together in the shape of the ear so that I could bend it to fit perfectly on the wig. I covered the skeleton with felt that I painted pink and white for the inside of the ear and faux fur. The ears are attached and stabilized with extra wire that hangs down into the wig and sewn into place into the wig cap. For the Theophany circlet, I used a headband and used moldable plastic beads that I melted down and molded into the shape I desired, getting all of the detail work built in so everything sticks together. Once the plastic was cool, I used spray paint primer, spray paint metallic looking paint, and a little bit of acrylic paints to help get the colors I wanted. Then I sealed it with clear coat. Next, the Theophany robes are made in 3 separate parts. Much of the fabric I used was cotton broadcloth because it was lightweight, easy to work with, and has a similar texture to that in the pictures. Most of my sewing work was done on my machine, as well as with my serger to lock ends up. However, there were many parts that did require some slip stitching or ladder stitching with some hand sewing. Some of the easy decorative pieces I completed by using silver thread and simply using a satin stitch. However, some of the more challenging details I chose to use paint and freehand draw each of those details onto the skirt and sleeve bands. The first major part of the robes was the dress, which I used a simplicity dress pattern that I heavily modified, matched with a Patterns for Pirates hoodie where I took the hood, and the bow came from my Sailor Moon pattern. To create the ruffling details, I used a large basting stitch and gathered the top ends. The next major part of the robes was the belt section. To create the belt, I used 2mm foam and added details to the edges, painted it with primer, used the same metallic spray paint, and sealed it. All of the details on the dress and belt were also done in the same manner. To close the belt and add a lot of the details from the dress that needed to be attached to the belt, I also used my cam snap tool to create snaps. Finally, there was some detailing added, using jewelry and chain to add the cool chain effects that hang from the belts. The third and final part of the robe was the sleeves. I made my own upper armband and bell sleeve pattern and used a Yayahan sleeve pattern that I put a zipper in to make it easy to get on and off. Across much of the Theophany robes and other parts of the costume, there are bead details that I either cast from resin in a silicone mold or used buttons that I painted to look more pearl-like using pigmented dust and sealing the dust in to get the cool pearl look. The skirt underneath the dress was also made with cotton fabric and recycled bedsheet fabric. I also used a skirt pattern that I had lying around and just simply modified it to fit my needs. I created the boots completely from scratch by myself using a boot pattern where I used stretch knit jersey knit fabric and old flip-flops that I tore apart and remade. I used some of my EVA foam to create new treads for the bottom of the shoes. I also made a tread pattern because I didn't want to slip and slide around, so I had a little fun personalizing them. To help them stay up, I modified a leggings pattern and used power mesh, which I sewed into the top of the boot covers. To create the tail, I sewed together faux fur, stuffed it with polyfill, and then created a twisted wire core that would allow the tail to be bent and shaped. This would also give it something to hold on to. And I created a ribbon waistband that would tie in through the skirt. Finally, the largest part of my project was creating the staff. Xanon was created by using a projector for shape, cutting it out of insulation foam, and attaching the bottom and top pieces to a PVC pipe. I then used sheets of thermoplastic to cover all of the foam and the PVC pipe and hold everything together in a very sturdy way. I used my thermoplastic beads then to mold some of the detail work that needed to be added before priming, painting, and sealing. I look forward to sharing with you in my interview more at the con, as well as in my build book. Thank you very much for your time, and see you at the con in the fall.